The army is standing outside the northern border of the Krasis kingdom. The army is led by Duke Elian, who is the lord of the northern frontier. But something is strange, because Elian is very shocked and scared after seeing the army of undead monsters approaching them. The main issue is that the number of the undead is beyond imagination, and not only that, the undead army is also bringing a terrifying poison mist toward them. The soldier standing next to Elian notices something and tells him to look there. Elian is startled to find that the undead army also has the undead knight, Durian, with them. Durian is an undead said to be capable of killing even 10 high-ranking knights in battle with ease. The soldier next to Elian becomes terrified, believing they cannot win against such overwhelming force, so he suggests Elian retreat and prepare for a siege. Elian is also very afraid, but he knows they cannot retreat since the northern wall has already fallen. If the city gate breaks too, then their nation will be finished. No matter the sacrifice, they must hold them back today. But suddenly, someone passes Elian and heads straight toward the undead army. Seeing that, Elian shouts about the person charging in so recklessly. The soldier informs him that it is Lord Urin Rox, sent to the battlefield from the southern Marquis of Rox. He is the protagonist Urin Rox, the one who fights with daggers. However, Elian believes Urin won't be able to defeat Durian. To their surprise, Urin defeats Durian with his dagger, finally killing him. Elian and the soldier are shocked to see Durian getting defeated so easily. They find it impossible, given the rumors about Durian's extraordinary power, yet it is happening right in front of them. Urin then throws his daggers toward the rest of the undead, defeating them in a single strike. Witnessing this, Elian and the others wonder if Urin is a saint sent by the heavens. But Urin himself believes he is nothing like a saint. Suddenly, a pop-up window appears in front of him, informing him that he has gained EXP and that the Firebone Mountain skill has reached level 1. It is a skill capable of even melting undead marrow. The 10,000 poison absorption technique has absorbed the toxin. The 4 Heavenly Venom Art EXP has increased, and the Firebone Mountain EXP has also risen. Urin thinks to himself that he is not a saint because he will take anything useful for himself. Everything started 6 months ago, when Urin suddenly woke up in bed, wondering where he was since the place was unfamiliar. A maid entered the moment he woke up, and he looked at her with surprise because she was very beautiful. Yet he wondered why she wore such strange clothes and carried a sword at her waist. The white-haired maid asked the boy if he was all right. Even though he looked fine, she decided to call the priest right away. The boy tried to stop her because he wanted to ask something important, but she didn't listen and simply left. After that, he stood up, wondering where he was, but became shocked when he saw himself in the mirror. He realized it was not his body. He wondered where his original, good-looking, middle-aged self was. The boy, or more accurately, the man inside, started sobbing, questioning why he looked like a chubby child. He became scared and frustrated, wondering if this was a dream since he couldn't figure anything out. He concluded that if he just went back to sleep, he would wake up in his real body. Suddenly, the priest returned with more people, including a black-haired old man who seemed to know the boy. The priest inspected him while the black-haired man glared angrily, calling him the disgrace of the family. The boy was terrified, wondering who the man was. The priest laughed and told the black-haired man to punish the boy later, since he had just woken up. The man calmed down a little, and the priest completed his inspection, expressing surprise that the boy was all right despite fainting. He noted that the boy was not badly hurt. His mind seemed stable, and most of his injuries had already healed. The boy replied that it was a relief, but this made the black-haired man angrier. He said it would have been better if the boy had died, because he had assaulted his own fiancée. The boy was shocked since he had no idea what was happening. The black-haired man told him to act like a grown-up because he was already 19 years old. He appeared to be the boy's father, and he scolded him further, saying even his younger brother had already awakened his aura, while he himself was just getting fatter day by day. The boy was stunned after hearing this. His father continued, saying that once he had fully recovered, he needed to go apologize to his fiancée, Ilya, and warned him that his future would be finished if she refused to forgive him. Then, with a heavy voice, his father asks if he understands, and instinctively, Urin replies in fear that he has understood. Before leaving, his father tells him not to disgrace their family name any further. The boy's name is Urin, and he finally realizes the situation after hearing that he is Urine Rocks. He realizes that the person in front of him is none other than Urine's father, the Marquis Willington Rocks. Hearing that makes his father very angry, and he slaps Urine because he dared to call his father's name directly to his face. Urine falls to the ground after receiving the slap straight across his face. The priest and the other person stop the Marquis, telling him to calm down. Meanwhile, Urine is very surprised, silently praying that this must be a dream, and then he loses consciousness. The next moment, he wakes up again, finding himself in the same place as before. He grows nervous, wondering why he hasn't woken up from what he thought was a dream. The white-haired girl asks if he is awake, but Urine is in deep shock and suddenly asks if she is Aaron. She confirms her identity, which makes Urine even more shocked and frustrated. He then continues, asking if the reason he is lying in bed after passing out is because he went after Ilya, got beaten up, and fainted. Aaron is surprised and asks why Urine is suddenly being so formal. Her reaction startles him further, and he continues asking if he was knocked out by Ilya. Aaron confirms that he attacked Ilya in the room, and she beat him senseless until he fainted. Urine realizes he is now in a deeply bad situation. Aaron doesn't understand why he looks so frustrated, but Urine believes he is completely doomed. It becomes clear to him that somehow he has ended up inside the web novel he himself wrote, not as the protagonist, but as the trash villain who picks fights with the hero and, in the end, dies miserably. Urine is far from happy with this situation. He grabs his hair, thinking about how he has ended up in a world that is no longer just a webtoon. Aaron doesn't understand his behavior, but Urine begins crying as he realizes that the creator of that webtoon has possessed the body of Urine Rocks. To put it simply, Urine Rocks is a total scoundrel who has no talent, no skills, and never trains. He leeches off his family name as the heir, eventually loses his fiancée to the protagonist, and in his anger, attacks the protagonist, only to be beaten down instead and die pitifully in some back alley. Urine is terrified, worrying about how he is supposed to survive in such an uncertain world. It is a fantasy world, but he doesn't know what abilities Urine has at all. Still, he at least knows about the opportunities and items that the protagonist has not yet discovered. Thinking that, Urine quickly begins planning what preparations he needs to make. When he tries to stand up, he feels the new body is extremely heavy and falls to the ground. Aaron rushes closer, asking if he is all right, but he replies that he is not all right at all. Suddenly, while Aaron tells him to rest more, he sees something unusual. At first, he couldn't see it clearly because he had frowned, but now he notices a stats window next to Aaron, showing him her abilities. Her traits include Level 2 Swift Sword, Clear Mind at Level 1, and Aura Affection also at Level 1. But the affection stat is at 0. Urine studies the stats panel, making Aaron suspicious, and she asks what he is doing. Nervously, he says he just went crazy for a moment and insists she leave because he is fine now. Aaron follows his order and starts walking toward the door to leave the room, while Urine continues silently reading and thinking about her stats. Seeing her stat window, Urine remembers that Aaron was always designed to be stronger and more talented than regular knights. But what he doesn't understand is the affection stat. Reading it, he wonders if this world has elements of a dating simulation. He thinks that might be the case because he often played dating sims before. After Aaron leaves, Urine feels relieved that her affection stat is at least not negative, considering Urine's usual behavior, but he knows it's still a problem. After saying this to himself, he looks in the mirror and sees the fat body of Urine staring back. Suddenly, his own stats window appears, showing information like his special condition, morbid obesity. His traits include the Eye of the Creator at Level 1, and the 4 Heavenly Venom Arts, though it is currently locked with a sync rate of 99.9%. Among his skills, Urine believes only one truly stands out, the 4 Heavenly Venom Arts. Thinking about it, Urine remembers that this skill comes from the wuxia webtoon he loved reading. It was a webtoon featuring a powerful heroine, and the 4 Heavenly Venom Arts was a martial art of poison and hidden weapons. Urine realizes the lore of this new world is a strange mashup, but he also believes that if he can actually learn the 4 Heavenly Venom Arts, it might become his ticket to survival. A clan that often appears in Chinese wuxia novels is a prestigious sect from Sichuan province, specializing in poisoned and silent assassinations using toxin-laced hidden weapons. And right now, Yurin also has that skill, but it is locked. Looking at the stats panel makes him wonder why such a skill exists in a completely different novel world, since this is supposed to be a medieval setting. Despite that, the most important issue for Yurin is whether he can unlock this ability. Just thinking about it makes him laugh happily. The scene then shifts to Eren, who goes to the Marquis room. There, the Marquis asks her if Yurin has gotten up. Eren confirms that he woke a little while ago. Then he asks about Yurin's condition, and she reports that he doesn't seem normal because he stumbled when he tried to stand, and his body is still in poor condition. The Marquis finds it hard to believe, since even the priest said Yurin's wounds weren't very deep. He then asks Eren if she noticed anything strange, because normally if he had told Yurin to apologize to Ilya, he would have thrown a fit. But this time, Yurin surprisingly agreed to apologize without saying anything. Not only that, but the Marquis also notices a change in Yurin's personality. However, he believes Yurin cannot truly change and will simply go back to his usual behavior by the next day. Hearing that, Eren assures him that Yurin will surely recover step by step. This startles the Marquis, and he immediately turns back to look at Eren, which makes her nervous. He is shocked to realize that even he, as Yurin's father, has already given up on him, but Eren still believes in Yurin. Laughing awkwardly, the Marquis admits that he almost feels bad for her, saying he should have just let her live her life as a knight instead. The Marquis looks worried, thinking about how hard it must have been for Eren to serve Yurin. But Eren insists that it isn't like that, because today Yurin felt somehow very different from before, though it is difficult for her to explain. The next morning, Eren goes to wake Yurin and is shocked when he says he wants to start exercising. She cannot believe what she hears. Yurin then asks her to escort him to the drill yard so he can begin training there. Startled by something Yurin has never said in his life, Eren asks again if he really wants to train right now. Without hesitation, he replies yes, asking if there is any problem. The trait, Eye of the Creator, seems to allow Yurin to view stats, but as for unlocking the Sichuan Tang clan ability, he has no idea how. He wonders if it might be because of his obesity, so he decides to start exercising while figuring out a way to unlock it. Eren and Yurin begin walking toward the drill yard. Seeing the mansion's garden, Yurin thinks its size is equal to several stadiums combined, and just walking through it already leaves him exhausted. During their walk, they pass by several maids, and when they greet him, Yurin notices that every servant he encounters dislikes him. It becomes clear that all of them hate him. Considering how terrible the old Yurin had been, he cannot blame them. After walking for a while, Yurin, exhausted, asks Eren how long it will take to reach the drill yard. Eren replies that they will arrive soon and points out the third training hall, explaining that the first and second are mostly used by the knights. They enter the training hall, where Yurin notices someone already inside. He immediately checks his stats window and is shocked to see that the person harbors a killing urge toward him. This terrifies Yurin. The person's name is Rekka Alian, whose trait is Quick Sword at level 1, and his affection toward Yurin is -91. Rekka looks at Yurin and speaks, asking the reason for his sudden visit to the training hall. Completely frightened, Yurin blurts out Rekka's name, which makes Rekka smile. He says it is an honor that Yurin still remembers him. Shaking, Yurin points at his sword and stammers that of course he remembers, then quickly whispers to Eren, asking if something happened between him and Rekka. While Rekka resumes training, Eren asks Yurin if he really doesn't remember. Yurin replies nervously that he doesn't remember at all. Eren then reveals that a few years ago, when Yurin's father forced him to train, he called Rekka, who had just joined as a trainee at the time, and then Yurin scarred his face with a sword while laughing. After that, the Marquis gave up on trying to make Yurin train. Yurin is shocked to hear this and looks at Rekka, who is still training but glaring back at him with furious eyes, making Yurin tremble. He realizes just how hopeless and disgraceful the original Yurin really was. Understanding the danger of the situation, Yurin decides to leave, more like run away, while Rekka silently watches them go. Once outside the training hall, Yurin asks Eren if there is any other place where he can train alone. Hearing that, Eren tells him about the fourth training hall, but explains that it is very far away and the facilities are poor. In other words, it is just an empty field. Hearing that makes Yurin very happy, and he decides to turn around, telling Aaron that they will go there, claiming that he will lose weight properly. Aaron is amazed and points in the direction, telling him to follow her. After some time, they reach the fourth training hall, but Aaron is already exhausted. After catching his breath, he takes a look at the various kinds of weapons there while thinking about the Sichuan Tang clan, which specialized in throwing knives and small weapons. Thinking about that, Aaron picks up a dagger to try throwing it at the target. After inspecting it, he uses all his strength to throw the dagger, but it doesn't even reach the target and falls to the ground halfway. He had hoped that this might unlock his trait, but it still doesn't. After that, he notices Aaron watching him and quickly assures her that he was just throwing one for fun. He nervously laughs and says that he knows he should first build his basic stamina. Deciding so, he begins running laps around the hall. Aaron is amazed by the sudden change in Aaron's behavior as he starts his basic stamina training. He also tells her that he will train on his own, so she is free to train however she likes. After that, he continues training, looking very tired. Aaron later reports everything to the Marquis, making him very surprised to hear that Aaron actually came to the training grounds and started working out. The Marquis finds it very strange, wondering how long it will last. Soon, 3 weeks pass, and the Marquis is shocked that Aaron has not skipped training even once. Looking through the window, the Marquis also notices that Aaron has lost a lot of weight, making his appearance change noticeably. The Marquis begins to feel proud of his son, because now that he is no longer overweight, his face looks very handsome. However, he is still worried about whether Aaron has truly matured or not. Later, during the sunset, Aaron looks at himself in the mirror in his room, thinking about how much he has slimmed down. But the real issue is that the Sichuan Tang clan trait still refuses to unlock. After that, Aaron dresses himself and decides to give it another month. If it still doesn't unlock, he plans to steal the fateful encounter meant for the protagonist. Right after putting on his clothes, Aaron comes in with dinner, and he thanks her for it. The dinner she brought is chirin soup. Despite its crude name, it is a nutritious stamina dish, very effective for burning fat and building muscle. In the Rock's family, it is customary to eat it after every training session. But Aaron doesn't like the soup at all and feels doomed at the sight of it once again. Seeing his expression, Aaron asks if he is tired of it. Aaron instantly replies that he is, because he has been eating nothing but the soup for 3 weeks straight. Hearing that, Aaron asks him if he just wants to lose weight or if he truly wants to become a knight, pressing him about his real desire. Aaron gives her a thumbs up, saying that he wants to be a knight. Aaron then explains that in this territory, even the King Marquis eats chirin soup after training, so Aaron should stop complaining and eat his soup. Aaron feels threatened and immediately agrees, thinking that life is all about living and learning, even if this feels like an outdated custom. After that, Aaron leaves the room, and Aaron looks at the soup, deciding to put up with it for now because it has helped him lose weight. He takes a bite of the soup, but suddenly feels something strange, as the taste seems subtly different. Then, a pop-up window appears, notifying him that he has ingested poison. Aaron is shocked, and the pop-up screen changes, showing that he has satisfied the unlock condition for the Sichuan Tang clan trait. It is now unlocked. Seeing this, Aaron is completely amazed. Meanwhile, the Marquis, who is truly amazed by the noticeable change in his son's behavior and appearance, is watching him through the window. But someone suddenly knocks on the door, and upon hearing that, the Marquis gives permission to enter the room. It is actually the Marquis' wife, who has brought them tea. She is his second wife, and her name is Kana. She smiles and asks what the Marquis has been looking at so intently. The Marquis lies, saying that he was just admiring how beautiful the garden looks. Kana sets the food tray on the table, then comes closer, smiling, and says she has been personally taking care of the garden with great attention. The Marquis smiles again, complimenting her skills. She then hugs him from behind and asks when he will be choosing Colin as his heir, as he mentioned before. She wants him to announce it earlier since it is already decided. Hearing that, the Marquis tells her it might take a little more time. Her mood changes instantly, and she argues with him, reminding him that he promised to name Colin heir within this month. The Marquis confirms that he did say that before, but explains that the situation has changed slightly. He tells her she has probably already heard that Aaron has finally come to his senses, and he is also the eldest son of House Rocks. The Marquis believes that if Aaron truly applies himself, he could turn out to be a worthy successor. Kana agrees, saying she has also heard the same thing. She smiles, admitting she was so worried. But thankfully, it seems Yurin has sobered up at last. She continues, saying it must be a relief for the Marquis as well. He turns around and agrees with her, admitting he never thought Yurin would finally come to his senses after being struck by his fiancée. Kana again presses him, asking when he will announce Colin as the successor. The Marquis explains that Yurin has only just started training for a week, so it is better to watch him a little longer. However, he promises Kana that if Yurin goes back to his old ways, he will immediately give the heir title to Colin, who is her first son. After hearing that, Kana turns to leave, telling the Marquis that she will head to the bedroom first so he can finish his work and come quickly. After closing the door, her facial expression completely changes, showing anger and hatred toward Yurin. The scene then shifts to Yurin, who is looking at the panel showing that the trait has finally unlocked. He is shocked, realizing that the Sichuan Tang clan specializes in poison, and the unlock condition was to ingest poison. Yurin looks curiously at his soup and opens the stats window for its information. He notices a down arrow icon, meaning there is more information below. When he scrolls, the pop-up window updates, showing the ingredients. Among them is the Hanyang herb, whose attribute is paralysis. It is basically a medicinal plant, but carries a mild toxin. It is harmless to adults in small amounts, but if it builds up, it slowly paralyzes the body until death. Yurin is thrilled to see that the system displays this information. To Aaron, however, he just seems to be acting strangely, since she cannot see the stats window. She looks at the soup and remarks that he isn't eating it. Hearing that, Yurin quickly starts eating the soup. As he eats, he thinks about who could have put poison in his food. Normally, Yurin cannot be killed by poison, so he believes something has changed in the flow of events. Now that he thinks about it, something that should have already happened has not. In the original story, this was around the time when Colin, the second son, was supposed to be officially named heir. Yurin wonders why that hasn't happened yet. The only reason he can think of is that his sudden training has delayed the decision, which means that whoever put poison in his food must be from that side. Yurin munches happily while another pop-up window appears, showing that the condition for unlocking weak paralysis poison has been met. After finishing the meal, he tells Aaron that he has finished it, crying and saying it was so delicious it brought him to tears. Aaron doesn't understand at all and just looks at him nervously, but Yurin tells her to step outside because he wants to spend some time alone. She takes the plates and leaves, telling him to rest. Yurin waves to her, wishing her good night, then looks into the mirror and shouts for the stats window to appear. The stats window now shows that the Sichuan Tang clan trait is unlocked. Just like in a VR game, Yurin decides to focus on the plus button to open the detailed page. It shows that he has unlocked 3 skills: poison, hidden weapons, and martial arts. However, the other skills remain locked. He then focuses on the plus button for poison to see more details. It shows that leveling up requires special conditions, with different poisons available depending on the user's level. Yurin scrolls all the way down to see the final poison available. Seeing that, he concludes that he must first unlock all the lower levels. In other words, it is a level-up unlock system. To obtain the most basic poison, weak paralysis poison, Yurin needs an inner technique. This makes sense to him, since the Sichuan technique uses internal energy to wield poison. After that, Yurin decides to check the second skill, martial arts, and there it shows the basic inner technique selection menu: dark poison arts, thunder needle arts, and 10,000 venom divine energy. It also displays a warning, stating that Yurin can only choose one inner technique. Yurin laughs happily, saying it is an easy choice since he is a wuxia fan. Dark poison arts focuses on poison, thunder needle arts focuses on hidden weapons, and 10,000 venom divine energy takes longer to master but allows one to reach mastery in both poison and hidden weapons. The more, the better, he thinks. That is how wuxia protagonists always are. So Yurin decides to choose 10,000 venom divine energy. After selecting it, Yurin's hair begins flowing and his whole body glows. He is shocked because the mantras of the technique engrave themselves directly into his mind. With the mantras fully imprinted, Yurin decides to try circulating energy right away. He takes off his shirt and sits on the bed to concentrate. While focusing, he feels a strange flow moving through his body, chi. He then guides it through the proper meridians and stores it in the dantian to build internal strength. The next day, Yurin is still training, concentrating on circulating chi. He finds it amazing, realizing that martial arts novels weren't lying about training all night without sleep. It feels real, as he doesn't feel tired at all. In fact, his body has changed, and he feels full of energy. He can even sense the flow of chi around him. Not only that, he can tell how many birds are outside the window without even looking. Yurin also feels a solid, warm energy in his dantian, and now, if he circulates chi to his head, he can open the stats window without needing a mirror. The stats window shows that the 10,000 Venom Divine Energy is at 1 star. In other words, only 10% awakened. Suddenly, Yurin senses a familiar aura outside the door and looks toward it. It turns out to be Aaron, who has come to wake him up. She sees him sitting on the bed concentrating and asks if he didn't sleep, since his bedding looks untouched. Yurin laughs, saying it just turned out that way, but Aaron insists it is not good and tells him to rest today. She starts to leave the room, but he stops her, saying that he will train today because he feels great and is in top condition. She turns back, agrees with him, and tells him she will prepare breakfast first. After that, she closes the door, thinking about when Yurin will start gaining muscles. After some time, they reach the 4th training hall, where Yurin picks up a dagger to test his new skills. But he is shocked to see crosshairs in front of his eyes, like a first-person shooter game. With their help, Yurin can precisely aim at the target. Aaron watches him with a doubtful look, her expression clearly saying that Yurin won't be able to hit it just like last time. Yurin throws the dagger, and this time it strikes the target cleanly. Overjoyed, Yurin celebrates while Aaron looks on in surprise. At that moment, a pop-up window appears, informing Yurin that he has finally unlocked the hidden weapon skill of the Sichuan Tang clan. She becomes very curious and asks Yurin what he just did. Yurin replies that he doesn't know either and tells her that he can only guess it must be the result of the past month's training starting to show. Aaron seems very frustrated because there is no way anyone could achieve something like that in such a short time. This makes Yurin realize that it is the first time he has ever seen Aaron look so frustrated. Yurin smiles, deciding to try once more. He grabs a dagger and points it at the target. As he throws it, a fiery inner energy surges up from his lower abdomen. The dagger flies faster and stronger this time, hitting the target and even breaking the wooden target board. Aaron is even more shocked, shouting at the broken board in frustration. Yurin smirks, because to him, having a crosshair from an FPS game appear before his eyes is basically like using a cheat code. In his previous world, he used to play an FPS game called Battle Attack and even won the Yangdongpo PC Cafe tournament. Totally shocked and frustrated, Aaron asks Yurin what is happening. This makes Yurin ask her if she can feel anything coming from him. She doesn't understand the question and simply says that, aside from the fact that he has lost quite a bit of weight since yesterday, she can't notice any other changes. Yurin asks if he really has lost weight, and Aaron confirms it. She explains that since he has been training every day and eating chirin soup, he has been steadily slimming down, but today he looks even more noticeably different. Yurin goes along with her words, now understanding that since Aaron can't sense the inner energy flowing through his body, it means only he can use it, and no one else in this world can detect it. Smirking, Yurin thinks that he has truly gained incredible power. He smiles, grabs another dagger, and decides to keep practicing. Every throw hits the target easily. This time, Yurin aims at the same spot again, and his accuracy is perfect. Aaron is even more shocked. Out of curiosity, Aaron decides to try throwing a dagger herself. She throws with all her might, but fails to hit the target. Seeing that, Yurin laughs, saying there is finally something that Aaron cannot do. Embarrassed, Aaron blushes, but Yurin suddenly notices a pop-up window. It states that he has unlocked the Seikyon Danga memory trait, and also the straight cut skill. This means he can now throw not only faster and stronger, but also use memory-based projection with stones, wood, sculptures, iron swords, or any object as if it were a memorized weapon. Excited, Yurin decides to test it. He grabs a broken sword, but first tells Aaron to step aside. Curious, Aaron asks what he plans to do with it. Yurin raises the broken sword high in the air, channels his inner energy from the dantian down to his arms, then activates the straight cut skill and throws it. The sword flies powerfully, not only hitting the target, but also smashing the wooden board into pieces. Eren is completely shocked and anxious, asking Euron about the source of his sudden power. Euron lies, telling her that he doesn't know either, suggesting it might simply be the power of practice. Eren shouts that such a thing is impossible. Euron then calmly tells her that he knows she reports everything to the Marquis, but asks her for a favor, to keep this matter secret for now. Eren hesitates, trying to deny hiding anything, but Euron insists, saying he is testing several things right now. He assures her that he will explain everything to the Marquis himself later, so she should just wait. Hearing that, Eren finally agrees not to tell the Marquis about this matter. Time passes, and it is now the moment when the mansion's servants change shifts and head home. An orange-haired man is among them, walking toward his house. Euron silently stalks him and uses the Eye of the Creator trait on him. The man's name is Peru, and his traits are Poisonous Touch and Agile Movement, both at level 1. This confirms for Euron that Peru is the one who poisoned his soup. Determined, Euron begins following him, deciding to finally test his newly unlocked skill. He points his finger at Peru and activates Paralytic Poison. Peru suddenly feels sharp pain, his body freezes, and he collapses to the ground, unable to move. Euron laughs as he approaches, pleased that the experiment was a success, and not only that, he can also see the 1-hour duration of the effect. To begin his interrogation, Euron drags Peru to a safe place. Later that night, Peru opens his eyes, groaning in pain. Euron stands before him holding a lantern, asking if Peru is finally coming to his senses. He demands to know if Peru recognizes who he is. Peru is shocked to see Euron. Then Euron threatens him, telling him to answer honestly if he wants to live, and asks directly if he was the one who poisoned the soup. Then Euron tells Peru that he will ask him some questions, and if the answer is correct, Peru should blink once, but if it is wrong, he should blink twice. Euron first asks if he understands, and Peru blinks once, confirming that he does. Euron then continues, asking if the one who poisoned his soup was Peru or not. Peru blinks once, admitting that he was indeed the culprit. Euron follows up by revealing that the poison used was Hanyang herb. Peru is shocked to hear that Euron knows about it, and blinks once to confirm. Seeing that, Euron proceeds to the next question, asking if the person who ordered him to poison Euron was Marcianus Kana. But Euron is very surprised when Peru blinks twice, meaning it wasn't Kana. Euron thinks he is lying and places a dagger against Peru's neck. He repeats the question, asking again if Kana was the one who ordered him, but once again, Peru blinks twice, insisting it was someone else. This makes it clear that Kana was not the mastermind, since Peru does not appear to be lying. Euron decides to set that aside for now. He then hands Peru something, telling him to eat and swallow it, claiming that it is called paralytic poison. Peru gulps it down, and Euron explains that from now on, he has exactly 1 month left to live. If he doesn't take the antidote Euron has before then, Peru will die. Euron threatens him to follow his orders from now on. Terrified, Peru has no choice but to submit in order to survive. Seeing that, Euron places his hand on Peru's head to release him from the paralytic poison. After being released, Peru can finally talk again. Euron confirms this and immediately asks once more about the person who ordered him to poison the soup. Peru reveals that it was not Kana, but the Knight Captain Carox Livington. Euron is stunned to hear that. Peru continues, explaining that Carox ordered him to make Euron die of illness within a year. Carox is Kana's older brother, who became Knight Captain thanks to her marriage with the Marquis. Euron realizes his deduction was not entirely wrong. Carox is indeed Kana's accomplice, but that is not the most important part right now. Euron then gives Peru a sheet of paper. Peru reads it and is shocked to see it contains a list of poisons. Few people are as knowledgeable about poison as he is, and Euron explains that this means Peru can procure them from the black market. Euron orders him to use the money he receives from Carox to buy every poison on the list. He also commands Peru to bring whatever poisons he already has by tomorrow night. Shocked, Peru asks why Euron needs these poisons. Euron becomes angry, demanding to know if he gave him permission to ask questions. Frightened, Peru quickly submits. After that, Euron orders him to go. As Peru begins to leave, Yurin suddenly tells him that the soup must always be loaded with plenty of Hanyang herb from now on. Peru is shocked, unable to believe that Yurin actually wants to be poisoned. After returning to his room, Yurin laughs loudly, finding the situation amusing. He comments that martial arts is very cool and never thought Peru would actually fall for the paralytic poison, which was really just dried leaves lumped together. Now Yurin knows he must quickly master the Sichuan Tang clan martial arts, because if the story follows the setting he wrote, a terrifying event will soon happen in the outside world. The next day passes, and by night, Peru arrives at Yurin's place with the poisonous herbs he already possesses. Yurin inspects them and names them one by one. The first is Hanyang herb, the second is Ukrakpa herb, and the third is wooden vein leaf. Peru is shocked, wondering how Yurin knows about such rare poisons so easily. Yurin smirks, saying this much is nothing, since he can see everything clearly through the status window. Yurin then asks why Peru is carrying the other herbs, because if he only intended to kill Yurin, the Hanyang herb would have been enough. Hearing that, Peru explains that Hanyang herb takes a long time, and once resistance develops, it lasts longer than expected. But if it is combined with Ukrakpa after Hanyang's symptoms begin, the effect becomes stronger. Yurin understands that in other words, poisons become more powerful and subtle when combined. Curious, Yurin asks how Peru learned all this. Peru reveals that when he was just 8 years old, he was sold to the Livington family and trained under a poison master there. Yurin asks if there were many others like him, and Peru explains that there were about 20 children at first, but soon they all died. Only he survived. This makes sense to Yurin, since children without the poison affinity trait wouldn't survive long around toxins. But it also makes clear that Peru harbors deep resentment toward the Livington family. Yurin thinks to himself that he may have just found a very useful tool. He compliments Peru, telling him he did well, and dismisses him. Peru thanks Yurin and wishes him a peaceful night before leaving. After that, Yurin decides to begin his next step. He starts eating the poisonous herbs, one by one, even though he feels like vomiting. But he has already made up his mind tonight. After forcing them all down, the status window pops up with a warning that Yurin is in danger from poison and must perform breathing meditation. Concentrating, Yurin begins the meditation, determined to reach stage 2. The next morning, Aaron opens the door to wake him up, but is completely shocked to see that Yurin now has visible muscles on his body. Yurin has advanced to stage 2, acquired the martial art Little Dragon Step, and also unlocked poison techniques such as delayed toxin, truth serum, and soul-killing smoke. In the pop-up window, it also shows that Yurin has acquired the martial art Suryang's footwork. Yurin opens his eyes when he hears Aaron asking what is happening with him, and she becomes even more shocked after smelling a rotten odor coming from Yurin. Hearing that, Yurin stands up while Aaron looks like she is about to puke. Yurin realizes it is true that when inner energy rises and martial arts level up, the body expels a large amount of waste all at once. Because of that, Yurin says he will open the windows since it stinks so badly. Aaron quickly tells him not to open the window, but instead to immediately go take a bath. Yurin decides to follow her advice, and later, after changing his clothes, he walks alongside Aaron, smiling inwardly while practicing Suryang's footwork, which is now at level 1. Yurin uses it while walking. This Tang family footwork is perfect for fast movement, assassination, and evasion. Yurin still cannot believe that he is able to learn a skill that normally only appears in wuxia novels. As they walk, Yurin happily copies the movement, but Aaron notices and asks why he is suddenly walking like a drunk, wondering if his body is unwell. Yurin laughs nervously, assuring her that he is fine and telling her not to worry about him. He even tells her to relax her face a little. They continue walking as Yurin keeps doing what looks like a drunken dance. She asks again if he is really all right, and also whether he truly intends to train in Training Hall 1 today, even though there are many nights there. Yurin reassures her once more, saying he is fine and just wants to observe how the other knights train, so she does not need to worry about him at all. Aaron decides to believe him, and after some time, they reach Training Hall 1. There, Karox is practicing with his sword, while another knight is swinging a very heavy blade. 2 other knights standing nearby notice Yurin and start wondering about his identity. They recognize Aaron as Yurin's butler, but they do not recognize the young man behind her. They all question who he is, even wondering if such a handsome boy could really belong to the Marquis household. Soon, they realized the rumors they had heard must be true, that the young Master Yurin has lost a great deal of weight through training. Shocked, they finally recognize him as the infamous Yurin. The knights begin whispering about him, but Yurin becomes angry because he can hear their words clearly through his inner energy, even though they are whispering. Eren then points out someone to Yurin, telling him about a trainee who is training earnestly with good form. The man is a large, dark-skinned, muscular figure, and Eren remarks that he will likely become a junior knight soon. She explains that his movements are the basic sword stances of the Rock's family and instructs Yurin to watch closely. Yurin sees the man and immediately recognizes him as Kride, the main character of the novel and later an ally of the protagonist. Yurin had never described Kride's background in detail before the hero met him, so seeing Kride here in the Marquis household feels fascinating. Yurin thinks this might become a useful opportunity later on. Then, he looks at the other knights, all of whom harbor nothing but hatred toward him. But today, Yurin decides they will serve as the test subjects for his experiment. Right there in front of Eren, Yurin begins training while secretly planning to start by testing his prolonged poison skill on a pink-haired man. The pink-haired man suddenly felt very strange and fell to the ground, writhing in pain. Seeing that, two other knights hurried toward him, asking if he was all right. The brown-haired man asked what was wrong with him, even wondering if he needed to go to the toilet, but the pink-haired man replied that it wasn't that. He was in deep pain, before collapsing completely. Seeing this, the bald man shouted that they needed to call a priest. But suddenly, the pink-haired man stopped feeling pain and simply sat on the ground without saying anything. Seeing him like that, the brown-haired man asked again what was wrong now. The pink-haired man replied that the pain was gone. This made the others angry, because they thought he was just messing with them. The bald man scolded him, saying he had already told him to use the toilet when he needed to. While they argued and scolded him, Yurin and Eren silently observed them. At that moment, Yurin decided to test another skill, soul-killing smoke, which was currently at level 1. This skill creates illusions that cause fear and confusion within a set range. Yurin activated it right under the spot where the three knights were arguing. Immediately, the brown-haired man was shocked, suddenly seeing a monster in front of him, and he screamed. Eren was startled to see all three knights collapse to the ground, trembling in fear and shouting at each other to stay away. Eren was confused, wondering why they were acting that way, while Yurin watched with a pleased look. In their illusions, the pink-haired man saw a monster about to throw fire at him. The brown-haired man was attacked by undead skeletons, and the bald man was also attacked by a monster. He even drew his weapon to fight back, but the next moment, everything returned to normal for them. The three knights looked at each other in confusion, wondering what had just happened. Yurin decided to stop. They all explained that they had seen monsters attacking them. Satisfied, Yurin also chose to end the experiment for today, finding the results very impressive. He then told Eren that they should head back. Eren was surprised and asked if they were really leaving already. Yurin turned around with a happy face and said that it was too noisy in Training Hall 1, so they would just go to Training Hall 4 instead. As they were heading there, a maid stopped Yurin to inform him that a guest had arrived to see him. Upon hearing that, Yurin asked about the guest, and the maid revealed that Ilya had come to meet him. Yurin is very surprised to hear that Ilya has come and starts thinking about her, the girl who is good with her fists and has finally come for a visit. Thinking about it, Yurin remembers that around this time in the original story, Ilya began demanding to break off her engagement with him, but back then, he kept refusing. Reflecting on all of this, Yurin realizes it can't be helped now and decides to meet her. The scene then shifts to a room where Ilya is standing by the window, saying to herself that she will surely annul the engagement this time. Yurin enters, and Ilya is shocked when she sees his handsome face. Yurin greets her, asking if she is there, which startles her even more. She nervously asks who he is. Yurin, confused, tells her that he is Yurin. Ilya is so shocked that she shouts out loud, making Yurin even more nervous, though he still greets her politely. Ilya, still shaken, admits that she thought the rumors were false. Since it has only been 2 months, she asks how Yurin could have changed so much. Yurin replies that it is because he worked hard. She is amazed to hear that Yurin actually put in effort. Yurin continues, explaining that after being beaten up by her, He thought deeply about his life and, in the end, came to the conclusion that he needed to change himself. Ilya points her finger at him, asking if he is trying to pick a fight with her for revenge. But Yurin assures her that he would never do such a thing. Instead, he kneels down and tells her that he is very grateful. Ilya is shocked, and Yurin continues, saying it was thanks to her that he was able to come to his senses. He expresses his true feelings, sincerely apologizing for what happened back then. Yurin even suggests that if Ilya still wants to break off the engagement because of that incident, he will accept it as his punishment. Ilya is caught in a tight spot because she has never seen Yurin act like this before. She again asks who he really is. Yurin replies that he is the former scoundrel, Yurin, and bows once more to apologize. Ilya is shocked even further, staring at him with curiosity. Although it wasn't truly Yurin's fault, but rather the fault of the body's original owner, the reason Yurin now seeks forgiveness to this extent is simple, because of Ilya's traits. She is not just a simple heroine. Her Sword Queen trait is extremely overpowered, and in the future, she will only grow stronger and stronger. Later on, she will save the fallen protagonist and even defeat the main villain, all made possible by her Sword Queen trait. That is why Yurin believes that even if their engagement ends, it is better to restore their relationship and make her an ally. While he is thinking this, Ilya suddenly tells him to stand up, surprising him. She asks if he is serious about what he just said. Yurin stammers but confirms that he is serious and even promises it. Ilya doesn't accept it immediately and instead demands that he swear it, releasing her overwhelming aura. Feeling her suffocating aura, Yurin thinks to himself that he never imagined Ilya's pressure would be this heavy, though he has seen this scene before. Ilya orders him to swear that from now on, he will not live as he did before, and if he breaks this oath, she will teach him a lesson herself. Hearing those words shocks Yurin, because those were the very lines Ilya spoke to the protagonist in the original story, but now she is saying them to him. Unable to breathe properly under the pressure of her aura, Yurin decides to use his 10,000 poison skill, Magneto Divine Art, to resist it. Ilya is surprised that he is able to counter her aura and demands to know how. Yurin, keeping a polite tone, swears that he will not live like before. Ilya blushes at his seriousness, then finally steps back, agreeing to watch him. She warns that if he makes even one mistake, the engagement will be unconditionally annulled. Yurin is stunned to realize that Ilya has decided not to break off the engagement. Later, Ilya speaks with the Marquis, who asks if she has met with Yurin. She confirms it. The Marquis then asks if she has decided about breaking the engagement. Ilya replies that she has made her decision. She will not break it. The Marquis is shocked and nervously asks why. Ilya admits that she doesn't fully understand it herself. She explains that her father always told her that people cannot change. However, when she heard rumors that Yurin had changed, she became curious. She wondered if he might have returned to the weak but kind Yurin from his childhood. But the truth is different. She believes he has not simply returned to his old self, but instead has become a completely different person. That is why she wants to give him a chance and trust him once again. The Marquis is worried but also feels relieved. Ilya continues, saying that if Yurin ever goes back to being a scoundrel, she will teach him a lesson with her own hands. The Marquis is frightened but maintains his composure. Giving her a thumbs up, he asks her to take care of Yurin. Ilya nods, then stands up, saying that she will return now. Hearing that, the Marquis asks Ilya why she wants to return immediately, telling her to at least stay for a few days. It makes her anxious, and she reveals to the Marquis that she told her father she was coming to break the engagement, so staying longer would be awkward. The Marquis understands and suggests she see Yurin before leaving, but she replies that she will not, since he is training, and she doesn't want to disturb him. The Marquis appreciates her answer and tells her to give his regards to her father as well. Later that afternoon, Yurin goes to meet his father because he has been summoned. The Marquis is gazing out the window, and when he sees Yurin arrive, he turns around and pretends not to recognize him, asking who he is. Yurin is shocked, but then the Marquis bursts out laughing, saying it was a joke. He compliments Yurin, acknowledging that he has worked really hard. Then the Marquis asks if Yurin knows the reason he was summoned. Hearing that, Yurin asks if it is to begin his nightly training. The Marquis is startled by Yurin's reply and turns back, complimenting him again, saying he has also become quick-witted. The Marquis then laughs loudly and declares that he believes the time has finally come for Yurin to learn the proud swordsmanship of the Rock's family. But instead of stepping forward eagerly, Yurin raises his hand and calmly calls out to the Marquis, saying that he has something important to say regarding that very matter. The Marquis is utterly shocked when Yurin reveals his desire, not to inherit the family's swordsmanship, but instead to devote himself to the throwing arts. For a brief moment, silence falls between them. Then Yurin confirms, firm and unwavering, that his decision is final. He wants to learn throwing arts instead of swordsmanship. The Marquis, visibly angered, declared to Yurin that such an act was not permitted, dismissing it as nothing more than a cheap trick employed by thieves. He went on to state that with a crude skill like throwing a dagger, Yurin would be incapable of defeating even a knight, let alone bringing down a low-class monster such as a Borak. Unfazed, Yurin met the Marquis's words with confidence. "Then let's make a bet," he proposed, "on whether or not I can take down a Borak with nothing but a dagger."